James Dorsey is a senior fellow at the Rajaratnam School of International Studies in Singapore. He joins us from there. James Dorsey, what do you make of this Trump statement? Is it realism or is it sacrificing human rights at the altar of trade?
I think that both Presidents Trump and Erdogan are in a catch-22. They both are having to deal with, if proven that Jamal Khashoggi was killed within the consulate, they're going to have to deal in a punitive way with that, but at the same time, they are trying to preserve relations, and particularly economic relations. And that may prove increasingly difficult to do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Turkey has a role to play here because it's happened in its territory. But the issue about the U.S. relationship with Saudi Arabia, in terms of this administration, with Jared Kushner being Donald Trump's point man, and even before Mohammed bin Salman was officially named as the heir to the throne of Saudi Arabia, Jared Kushner was pushing the case of MBS. Donald Trump has backed Mohammed bin Salman to the hilt. Has that now proven to be a miscalculation, the world having been sold Mohammed bin Salman as this great reformer?
I think it's long been proven to be a miscalculation. This is the last and the worst of a whole row of incidents. The problem for President Trump is, and also for Jared Kushner, that they may no longer be the real drivers in this. The U.S. Congress is probably going to take action that the president may not like. At the same time, public opinion is against appeasement of the Saudis, and of course, the U.S. and the international media would not concur with an appeasement, and that puts Trump, particularly in advance of midterm elections, in a difficult position.
Do you think possibly this may, in some way, mark the beginning of possibly the end of Mohammed bin Salman even being the heir to the throne? Is it possible that the King of Saudi Arabia might see, as this continues to develop into further and further opprobrium against Saudi Arabia, and as you say, nothing's proven, but the fact is the Saudis haven't provided any evidence that Jamal Khashoggi is safe, could the opprobrium lead to Mohammed bin Salman even losing his position as heir to the throne?
I think one's got to be careful with jumping to conclusions. Having said that, it's already clear that Saudi Arabia and the Crown Prince have suffered enormous reputational damage. And that is irrespective of whether or not Jamal appears alive or whether he's proven to have been killed. There is already within the kingdom the Crown Prince's opponents, senior members of the ruling family, who are saying to the king, this can't go on this way. We're suffering enormous damage. A weapons embargo by the United States and probably European countries would be unprecedented in the case of Saudi Arabia and would significantly damage its prestige, its reputation, as well as influence the conduct of the war in Yemen. Now, will this all lead to a change in the power structure? Reading the ruling family in Saudi Arabia is what we used to do, a term terminology, when we were trying to figure out what the Kremlin was doing in the Soviet Union. Your guess is frankly as good as mine.
Okay, so how therefore does Saudi Arabia go about repairing some of the damage that's happened because of this case?
Well, we've seen a very first step, which was the agreement by the Saudis, even though one should raise questions about that, to cooperate with Turkey in the investigation. Fact of the matter is that it's very easy to ruin a reputation and very difficult to rebuild it. And I think Saudi Arabia will have a great effort with this, because at the very least, what is likely to come out of this is that there was an attempt to kidnap and take back to Saudi Arabia Jamal Khashoggi. That in itself would be a violation of international law, of Turkish laws, and an unacceptable diplomatic practice, particularly because this was happening within the diplomatic mission of Saudi Arabia in Istanbul. So I think the Saudis are going to find this one very hard to, over the short term, to repair.
James Dorsey, you know we always appreciate your contribution. Thank you very much indeed.